be indoors as part of their normal school day, but hours 4, 5, 6, and 7 will be outside. And during that time, they're going to have food, games, other activities scheduled and planned for them to enjoy. And then last year, we had the opportunity to hold the car parade, which was a huge success. And that's something that we're going to be doing again this year. So coming up on the 3rd of June at 7 p.m., that's the same night as we have our celebration for our retirees at 5 o'clock out on the football field. We will be following that up with the car parade. So if you have an opportunity to stick around and see our seniors that night, I know they would appreciate that, and you'll get a chance to really see a unique event. You've got all the cars lined up and driving through the town with the seniors hanging out of the sunroofs and everything else. It's a really good event, and one that our families and community really enjoyed last year. And then, of course, graduation is going to be on the 4th. Graduation this year, very thankful. Last year was fantastic in that we were able to do the drive-through ceremony and be able to still have some sort of in-person activity for our students. But this year, I'm really excited about the fact that we, for the most part, will hold a traditional graduation ceremony. The difference being, though, it will be on our football field. And so we will be outdoors, and it'll begin at 6 p.m. on the 4th. So that's the Friday, the 4th. And it's going to look very much like it would normally, except for the fact that we'll be outdoors, we'll be socially distanced. With the new executive orders from the state level in terms of the group gatherings and the masks, it means that we'll be able to go without a mask. And it also means now, as a result of that change, we will not have to limit students' families for attendance. And so students will be able to bring their normal number of people in attendance, which is fantastic because typically for an MSHS graduation, we get close to about 2,000 people in attendance in our gym. We were planning on originally restricting that to 1,000 due to the group gathering orders. However, now with that change on July 1, it means that we'll be able to make that open for everyone. And so we look forward to being out there on the field. If we could get the kind of weather we just got for prom, that would be absolutely fantastic. But again, just a great chance to celebrate our students. So looking forward, though, to next year, as we do that, we put a survey out to our online students to see the interest for next year's school year. We will continue to offer our in-person school. We will offer our online opportunity, and then we will offer the hybrid. The hybrid will look different than what it did this year. Our hybrid will be more of what we've done in the past, where we actually have students taking some classes online and some classes face-to-face, as opposed to that day-by-day hybrid that we offered this year. You will see a significantly lower number of online students next year. This year, we had roughly about 1/3 of our students in this building were online. Next year, we're anticipating much lower. In fact, the survey results show that about 85.7% of our online students this year have already designated to return to in-person learning next year. And I think that speaks volume for the program that we offer here in terms of our face-to-face and the quality that our teachers are able to provide our students, and the fact that realistically, you cannot substitute working face-to-face in the classroom. And so that's a big change that we think our students will benefit from. We will, however, continue to offer those online opportunities, and depending on the number of students that are looking for that online opportunity, that will determine whether or not our local teacher provides that class online, or whether or not we use another service such as Michigan Virtual or something along those lines. And so we'll use the number of students interested as a tipping point to determine which would be most economical as well as the best educationally for our students, and go that direction. And then I wanted to finish tonight with one of our more exciting things. Typically, we bring in our top 10 students so that you have a chance to meet them and see the success that our students have had, and recognize those students who have really done an outstanding job, not only this year, but over the entire course of their time in high school and even prior to high school. Unfortunately, we're not able to bring them in face to face. However, I'd like to recognize them this evening. So I've got their names here, and I'll read those off. And just an interesting fact, by the way, they average out to be a 4.252 on their GPA. Our scale is to 4. So that gives you an idea of just how good they've done academically. So here we are with these students. I'll read the names off. Maria Hankey, Renine Sandstrom, Aaron Vandershaft, Connor Johnson, Paige Hendrickson, Kateri Dar, Finn Swati, Hadley Ketzenberger, Andrew Pillafont, and Hannah Young. That was a familiar one for me because that's actually my daughter. So a proud father moment for me right there. But those are our top 10 students this year. And again, I'm always amazed. You know, my time here at Marquette, you see these students and the success that they have in the classroom. The students, to be in the top 10, you're talking about a student who has not only done exceptionally well over their 4 years here, but you're talking about a student who's taken every advanced placement opportunity that they can, who's been successful on each of the assessments, tests, all of those things over that time, and they really have never missed a single pitch. You know, that's the kind of success you're talking about when you're talking about reaching the top 10, because quite honestly, when you look at our GPA for even our students outside of the top 10, extremely, extremely competitive. And so it speaks volume for what our students have been able to achieve. So just a few things that I wanted to share with you tonight in terms of wrapping up the school year, and then answer any questions that you have about the close of the year here.
What's the plan if the weather isn't?
Great question. It's got to be good. That's the reality. No, actually, to give you a little side story for prom, I need to stop looking at the extended forecast because it never quite works out. And so for prom, I started off and it was, ooh, it's going to be cold and it's going to be wet. We better have tents. We better have these other things. And then it went from that to thunderstorms. So then I had the thunderstorm plan written out. All right, if we've got this, we need to be inside for 30 minutes and then we can, and it ended up being beautiful, right? But you put all that planning in just in case because you never know, right? Well, when it comes to graduation, the plan is that as long as it is a decent weather outside, we will be going in person on the 4th. But you'll notice we typically graduate on Sunday afternoons. We've moved it to Friday. And by doing that, what that does is it gives us that Sunday date at 2 o'clock as a makeup date. So if we do have inclement weather, we will move that back to the Sunday and go at 2 o'clock. That's the plan. Now, the Upper Peninsula, you could move it back and it could still be a problem. Realistically, though, as long as we're not experiencing extreme colds or extreme wet weather, we'll be able to move forward with that being out on our football field. Other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice job. Thanks, John. I'm going to piggyback off one of the topics he brought up, and that was the online offerings. I shared with you guys last month kind of a philosophy and a plan for us as a district moving forward. Thanks, sir. Each level did a survey to find out what the level of interest was going to be for online next year. Obviously, it's really early, so really hard to find out what those numbers are really going to look like in August. But obviously, we wanted to do a survey and get our best plan in place. K-5 out of 160 some students that are either currently online or a hybrid. That's who the survey was sent to find out what gauge that level of interest. About half the number of folks responded. It was put out for a week's period of time, so 80 some responses out of those days. About 30 students had indicated potential level of interest in an online option next year. Some of those things with the comments, some were based on, well, if we're still wearing masks, then maybe I won't send my student, or if students aren't vaccinated, then maybe I still won't send my student. There were reasons that a parent or a family may decide that online is a better option for them, depending on what that scenario looks like in September. And again, we can't necessarily answer all those questions today. But looking at that data and putting the best plan forward for us that makes the most sense for us as an organization, for our staff, and I know we have a couple teachers here today, again, hindsight's 20/20. To take a step back, this year there was a lot of fear when we started the school year, and you know, all certainly relevant, but it was kind of drilled into us. We got to create as much social distancing as we possibly can, and so our plan then was do whatever it takes to kind of lower class size, offer online, offer some hybrid, try to bring those class numbers down. Obviously, we spread those students, thinking at least from a secondary level, across multiple class periods at an elementary level, spread them across grades, and that made it really difficult for our teachers and our staff to be able to do both, to teach the face-to-face, to teach the as we sit here today with 30 students, we will have a backup plan for a virtual option for elementary, but as a district, that is not our first choice to offer any type of virtual program. We feel like face-to-face is going to be most critical, especially at those young developmental ages, learning to read and write. Nor would we ask our teachers to teach at that level any type of online or virtual programming. As we move up, as John was referring to with his numbers, if we have enough students that we could put together in a cohort, and I'll use just an example, an 11th grade English class, where we could give a teacher an hour to teach online. In other words, first hour, I don't have any face-to-face kids. I strictly have, these 15 to 20 online students. Then we would craft a model like that. If there's not enough to form a class, then we would go back to what we've done in the past, which is enroll those students in a Michigan virtual class. Again, not asking our teachers to teach face-to-face and online students simultaneously. So that's our plan moving forward. At this point, with the number of students that indicated they want to come back, that's what we specialize in. That's what we're best at, is the face-to-face teaching and learning, and that's what MAPS is really going to focus on. And again, if there's enough interest, or if something changes, certainly we'll have some plans in place, like the Michigan Virtual, where there is some potentially some third-party options for students to get some of that. But it certainly wouldn't be our recommendation to try to funnel students in that direction to start in fall 2021.
John mentioned hybrid.
Again, we do not intend to offer hybrid options for next year. Now, hybrid in the same context that we offered hybrid this year, meaning you come to school 1 or 2 days a week and you're home 2 or 3 days a week. But we've always had a hybrid option where students throughout the course of a school day may be enrolled in an online class and also enrolled in face-to-face classes. We have to, by the state, prior to the pandemic, I think every student had an opportunity to take 2 of those no matter what. So that's been happening for several years. Is that the 25 or is that the 21I?
Different hybrid.
Well, one of those. Anyway, that's been a model that's been in place for several years that we've continued to follow. We have seen a few more students actually enroll in that prior to this pandemic year. We saw that start to trickle down a little bit more into the middle school ranks, where we started to see some students opt out of like maybe a 7th grade math class and take an online math class, but they stayed in school. We had a space set up for them. And so, yes, that form of hybrid would continue.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to touch base on, and John kind of alluded to it a little bit, was we start talking masking and social distancing and some of those things, as he alluded to with some of the upcoming events. As you know, and I've tried to keep you in the loop, and certainly our entire staff, we have had weekly meetings with the county health department. The changes are coming fast and furious. It kind of feels like the Wild West, and we see this is what's happening in this community, and this is happening in this community, and it's been varied. As we've gone through and we've had these discussions, our county health department continues to reference the CDC guidelines, and that is until the conclusion of the school year. In school, students and staff should continue to remain masked. And so with 13 days left, some districts, mind you, I'm not saying that we couldn't, some districts have changed some of those guidelines. I think as a county superintendent's group, everybody kind of said yes with the limited number of days left. let's get to the end of the school year, then let's start looking at policies and procedures as we move forward. That could certainly change before we start summer school programming, but like I said, with 13 days left, or you got 3 or 4 days left with seniors, we would intend to stay with that policy through the end of this school year. 6 foot of social distancing, and as I get ready to inform you, the COVID reconfirmation, we currently have 1 active confirmed case. So I was just looking at the dashboard a few minutes ago. We had our probably our largest spring spike week and a half before spring break, about mid to late March. It did start to impact some of our athletic teams. We started to see some hockey and basketball and some other players after a pretty long successful seasons where we didn't have a lot of students being quarantined, where that started to pick back up again in March. And then coming off spring break, again, we had another a pretty good uptick. But in the last couple of weeks, like right now, we have 1 active case. We've seen that number really decline substantially. So for whatever information that's worth. Looking at the reconfirmation and where we're at, I think Linda put this packet in here. I don't need to probably go over all of it with you. Elementary ECSE through grade 5, we're at 1,249 students face-to-face. We have 117 virtual and 35 hybrid. And again, that's that number that was recently surveyed. Seems to me it was a little higher. We were in the 160s. But we see the numbers at Cherry Creek: 334 face-to-face, 37 virtual, 14 hybrid. Graverette, 256 face-to-face, 17 virtual, 13 hybrid. So these numbers continue to come down every meeting that I share these with you. Sandy Knoll, 339 face-to-face, 41 virtual, 5 hybrid. Superior Hills, 320 face-to-face, 22 virtual, 3 hybrid. At Bothwell, 608 face-to-face, 27 virtual, 27 hybrid. High school, and we've seen those numbers continue to really go up. 711 face-to-face, 207 virtual, 140 hybrid. They're double counting a few students there, but that also counts Marquette Alternative High School as well. He doesn't have any virtual or hybrid students, I'm sorry. He does have some virtual. So Marquette Senior High School, 593, 169 virtual, 140 hybrid. And the alternative high school, 118 face-to-face, 38 virtual, and no hybrid. As far as attendance rates go, over the last 5 weeks, you can see we've been hovering between 95 and about 90, 96.42% of late. So those pretty much mirror our typical attendance rates that we see in a year with our face-to-face attendance as well. So pretty good as far as the attendance goes. Outside of that, I just want to touch base and say not only is the ceremony on June 3rd a retirement ceremony, but it's also our ceremony to recognize our 2 teachers of the year, our 6-12 teacher of the year and our K-5 teacher of the year, and also our support staff employee of the year. A couple other things. I just got a call today from Robin Bordner, and she's the state driver's education instructor for staff. So she finally got clearing to authorize Marquette to get training. So we would have a class here on campus in June, another class in July, another class in August. That would get our folks trained that we could start offering driver's education in September. So I've shared those numbers with you guys before. I'll come back. We'll need to, first I need to make sure that our staff that have expressed interest in teaching driver's ed still remain interested to take those classes over the summer. And if so, come back in a pretty quick turnaround time to start to look at driver's education vehicles and some of those other things that we would need to get that program off the ground. The last one that I had on my list is negotiations. As you guys are aware, we're negotiating with 4 different groups. Currently, I think the negotiations have been mutually, I think, on a pretty positive note at this point, and are going pretty well. So hopefully I will be back either June 7th or certainly I would hope no later than that last meeting in June with some contract proposals for the board to approve.
Questions?
Hopefully that's not too overly optimistic.
And it's not gonna rain at graduation.
And it's not going to rain at graduation. Until he announced that he had a backup date, now you know what's going to happen. We wouldn't have shared that. But that's all I have for you this evening.
There's no snow, right? No snow.
Any questions for Bill? All right, move on. Consent agenda. Minutes of the board work session of April 15th. Minutes of the regular board meeting April 19th. Personnel report dated 24th of May. The financial reports of April 2021, including receipts and disbursements, and financial reports. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Right. Board committee reports, appropriations.
So, last week. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
And topics that were discussed during the meeting were the Marisa budget that we'll be voting on later. GASB 54 discussion, again, no action needed, but just the discussion of maintaining a certain percentage as reserved for our fund balance. We also talked about some food service purchases and bids that we'll be voting on here for food trucks and some additional equipment, larger coolers and things to keep more food available for the summer programs, and also some staffing, which I think we already shared about adding more counselors for the upcoming school year next year. Any questions? Open that up.
Executive committee report. Well, Ryan's not here, so we'll do that.
No, I have,
I'm kidding.
no, I have like the next two. All right, so the executive committee met Friday, May 14th in the school council office. And we talked about a new science curriculum for the middle school and high school. And Ursula were very presented. And then we talked about the food service capital outlay that Barry presented to us. We had a projects update on the parking lot. And hopefully getting that started on June 14th. An update on school buses and negotiations update. So it was a very informative meeting. So we have a few things that are coming up later in the agenda.
Policy committee.
So
That's also coming up.
yeah, we can save the policy stuff for the first reading.
All right. Illustrious student.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's just really hard when you're not talking into the mics. I have to turn everything way up. And then if somebody talks into the mic, that happens. But like you guys, some of you are like 3 feet away from the mic when you lean back. Just so you know, it's an impossible sound situation. So I'm sorry about that, Olivia. Here you go.
Okay, so Mr. Young basically reported on most of the stuff that I had, but no, you're fine. On behalf of the student council, we just want to thank Double Trouble, sorry. They did our prom, they're doing our seniors last day, and they're gonna start off our car parade. And they're giving us a huge deal on everything because we didn't have much money with concession stands not happening this year. So we just want to say a huge thank you to them. And then the only other thing I have is, it's really nice seeing the restrictions around the school loosening. You can also walk more than one way in the hallway. And just stuff that doesn't seem that convenient, but changed a lot throughout the year.
You can talk without your mask.
That's all I have, so.
Thank you, Olivia. Do we have any other reports? New business? Consider the approval of the 2021-22 MSHA membership resolution. So, consider.
Make a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
We have a motion and support for approval of the 2021-22 MHSA membership resolution. Any discussion? Hearing none. Take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, consider MASB membership and legal trust fund renewal. Motion?
Make a motion that we approve the membership for
Support.
Got a motion and support for membership for MASB. Any discussion? Hearing none. Vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C, consider the adoption of resolution for local district consideration of Maurice's 2021-22 budget. Have a motion?
Make a motion to adopt this budget for the 2021.
Support.
We have a motion and support to adopt the resolution, local district consideration of Maurice's budget. Any discussion? Hearing none, take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item D, approve the purchase of 2 international school buses, including 1 lift bus. Take a motion.
Just to clarify, Mr. Randall, this is something that we approved in the budget amendment in March, but for auditing purposes, Deb needs the specific, can I say that? Deb needs the specifics of a board vote on this to make sure we're in compliance. So I know we approved the budget amendment that had those in there, but we need to address that specifically. It's 2 buses. One bus is a regular bus and the other one is a lift bus. Sorry. Eric,
It's okay.
attention for me. So it is two buses total.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 2 international school buses, including 1 lift bus.
Support. Thank you. We have a motion and support. 2 international school buses, including 1 lift bus. Any discussion? Hearing none, take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item E, approve the purchase of a Chevy 4500 LCF with lift gate and 16-foot box for Chevrolet, from Berger Chevrolet, and 2 cold carts from HPS Equipment. This is for the food service. Motion.
I make a motion to approve the purchase as presented.
Support.
Motion and support for the purchase of the food truck and cold carts. Any discussion?
How long, what's kind of the life expectancy of our food trucks? I mean, how long?
About 10 years, I think.
10 years.
Well, we have
Longer than that.
a couple little longer than that. So typically we've had 3. I think the oldest was about a 94 maybe, that rusted out pretty bad and was on its very last legs. They like to have 3 on hand. We have the one that delivers food every day and does the district mail run. The second food truck, although it doesn't get used as regularly, moving band and orchestra equipment, those types of things. Paper supplies, it's doing other things during the school day, and then they like to have a backup in case one of those goes down. So we've been operating with 2. Now, as Deb pointed out to both groups, and I know you weren't in either of those, Glenn, and here's good news that we can share publicly is the federal breakfast and lunch program that was free this year has certainly increased the number of meals that we serve. That is going to be a free program again next year, so great for all school districts. But it's made it pretty tight on the food truck that we currently have. So this one's a little bit larger. We can get a little bit more food on there as we do see a significant increase in the number of meals to each of those places. And I think should be honest to say that that budget has also increased pretty substantially as well. So I think it's 60-40 split, 60% that we can use the food service funds to cover the cost of this purchase. The other 40% falls back to the general fund due to the mail and the band and orchestra equipment and the other things that this truck can be used for.
And no advantage to waiting until one of the issues that's was raised is the lack of bids or people not wanting to bid.
This is a statewide bid.
Okay,
So this is already I keep screwing it up, Eric. I
Sorry.
keep sliding away.
Yeah,
I should
either.
listen.
Zach, I'm either getting something or nothing. So
I'm not easily trained.
the mics pick up closer to the mic.
Yes. Yes. So this is part of a statewide bid, and a lot of the things that we purchase are through the statewide bid, so it can't really get it. That's supposed to be the cheapest that we can get these. I think so.
Okay, motion and support. Discussion to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll do item F, policies.
Did the board receive the cheat sheet on the policies?
I did not give them the cheat sheet on the policies.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I did.
Yeah, it is.
I actually attached the minutes instead, Kristen, because
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it lays forth the policies that the committee recommended and the reasons.
Okay. All right, because that makes things a little bit easier, at least for the board members, to be able to go through and at least get the bullet points of the different policies that we have up for first reading. Since we do have quite a few that are either revised or added. So I don't I don't know that I need to go through every single one. But if anyone has questions on them, this is just a first reading, and then we'll have the second reading at our June meeting when the policies would probably be in.
Guess with any, a lot of these are usually not that, I would say, unreported, but any ones that, stood out to you that were kind of larger changes or had more impact?
No, I don't think that there was any policies that really stood out. Most of them were, some language that either we were missing from a previous policy, or they just revised language to make it fit what's going on currently with federal laws and stuff. So there wasn't anything that really jumped out like, yeah, we really gotta talk about this one. Yeah, I mean, mostly it's just to keep us current and keep us within the laws.
In the ethics policy, there was some language that was just murky. It was
Right.
hard to understand. And Jennifer pointed it out because it just didn't provide any clear guidance. And we made some changes to that.
Yeah, I mean, we had a very good discussion about the different policies and stuff, and we think that what's being presented to the board is pretty tight. Nope, it's just a first reading.
All right, item number 10, comments from the public. One slip. Terrell?
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Maureen Terrell, and I am one of the community members of the Marquette Public Art Commission. Dear Superintendent, school board members, and building principals. This is a visual arts education advocacy letter written by the Marquette Public Art Commission. This commission is made up of appointed working art professionals and community members to represent the community at large. Members are tasked with pursuing the goals of City of Marquette Arts and Culture Master Plan, including collaborating with Marquette area public schools to advocate and provide opportunities for arts education to citizens of all ages. A strong visual arts program is essential to a well-rounded curriculum, and the absence of that in the core curriculum of Bothwell Middle School and Marquette Alternative High School is disheartening. We also learned that the current art education offered at all 4 elementary schools is being taught by general elementary educators, and that the district employs only 1 certified, highly educated, or highly qualified art educator. To have only 1 arts educator of that caliber for the whole district in the most populated city in Upper Peninsula is a disservice to our student body. All other elementary schools in the area have certified visual arts educators leading their elementary programs. Marquette is a community that highly values the arts, and that should be reflected in our public education. Support for art education is advocated for and recognized across industries. Global business companies recognize the significance of art and culture in the world and national economy. Forbes reported that 5 million people held positions related to arts and culture, and related economic activity represented 4.3% of the GDP, or over $800 billion, a higher contribution than the agricultural and transportation sectors. The Art of Education University, a resource for K-12 art educators and advocate for art education, reinforces the reasons art education is important. Art education promotes teamwork, creativity, and accountability. It improves fine motor and visual skills, contributes to higher academic achievements, builds confidence, and enhances critical thinking, decision-making, and concentration skills. Many of these skills are imperative to succeed in the 21st century, and we want to set our youth up to be well-equipped future leaders and community members. The quality of education that students receive is diminished when you employ a teacher without the extensive education
obtained with the Certified Highly Qualified Visual Arts Education degree. Without qualified art teachers, the foundation of visual literacy suffers. Trained art teachers know how to make meaningful connections between art and other subjects, thereby reinforcing pathways to a comprehensive education. We know how valuable and needed the visual arts are in all industries and communities. We aim to ensure that all MAPS students receive the proper visual arts education they deserve and need to succeed. It is crucial for effective K-12 visual arts programs to be taught by certified, highly qualified art educators. As we transition to post-COVID education planning, we urge you to consider this as an opportunity to reinstate the once thriving visual arts program across the district. As a community, we must all contribute to providing valuable arts engagement and take steps to ensure that our children have the visual literacy building blocks they need to confidently pursue careers in the creative sector and innovative solutions for the problems of tomorrow. Sincerely, Marquette Public Arts Commission, Tracy Wascom Chair, Christina Behrens, Linnea Gustafson, Stephen Hughes, Emily Lanto, and Maureen Terrell. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. All right. So we have board member comments. Let's start with Olivia.
I don't have anything to comment, but I think that the arts is crucial. I could see that impacting, especially because the arts right now in the high school is an elective that you can choose to take. If it's introduced at a younger age, it might be like more willing to take it here. If it's introduced at a younger age.
Thank you.
It's just good to be back. Thank you for everybody for their comments this evening. Look forward to getting back on track and regularly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should have said that in.
Thank you. Jennifer Ray.
Jen. I'm good, I can talk loud. I don't have much to say. I think we've covered a lot of material this past month since the last board meeting, and I think a lot of hard work is being done. I would have to agree with Olivia on the arts for sure. It's a piece that is just critical to education and the foundation of every child. But other than that, I think
Jennifer Clip.
I just wanted to echo, I guess what everyone said. I had a lot of learning in the last month for me, but I'm very thankful that you were able to do the presentation, read your letter and do the presentation this evening. I agree with you more. I have a degree in arts ed, so it's something that's close to my heart, and I particularly like the way you were able to give it some real teeth with some data. I think too often we look at arts as a fun extra, and I categorically disagree with that viewpoint. It's an amazing catalyst for critical thinking, and it leads to a lot of success in a lot of sectors. It's not about coloring. So I really appreciate your words. Thank you.
Thank you.
no further comments.
All year I've been saying, and I'll continue, thanks to all MAPS staff for all the extra hard work this year. And in addition, obviously congrats to all upcoming graduates. And I did not know that about Double Trouble DJs, giving you guys some discounted rates. I just wanted to definitely mention that again. It's very important and nice donations.
Okay. Comments. Looking forward to the scholarship. Is that scholarship thing going to be a Zoom meeting like we did last year? I know.
Yes, it'll be Tuesday. It'll air Tuesday at 7 o'clock tomorrow for the Ed Foundation local scholarships.
What time tomorrow?
Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock is when it will air.
Awards. Look forward to the senior parade. Brian, you missed that last year. It was amazing. And it's another reason why they wanted to do it again. I'm assuming this will probably be a yearly event, did they? It was amazing, and the kids loved it. The parents loved it. It's really something to see. Hopefully the weather will hold for the graduation. Okay, I have no further comments. We have announcements and other meetings. We have a regular board meeting on June 7th, 5:30 in this room. A budget hearing and a regular board meeting on June 28th at 5:30 in this room again. And that's the end of the announcements and other meetings. A motion to adjourn.
Work.
Okay.